Imagine a map of the ancient world. Now, picture one single man tracing a line from Greece, across Turkey, through Egypt, all the way to the edges of India. That line, that was his empire. This isn't just a story about a general. This is the story of Alexander the Great, the king who never lost a battle and whose ambition defined an era. In just 13 short years, he forged the largest empire the world had ever seen. But how did a young man, barely out of his teens, achieve what was thought to be impossible? How did he conquer the known world? Born in 356 BC in the kingdom of Macedon, Alexander was seemingly destined for greatness. He wasn't just any prince. His tutor was none other than Aristotle, the brilliant philosopher who ignited in him a passion for philosophy, science, and the epic tales of Homer's heroes like Achilles. From his father, King Philip II, he inherited something else entirely, a revolutionary military machine. Philip was a strategic genius who had transformed the Macedonian army into an unstoppable force, centered around the formidable phalanx formation. But tragedy struck. When Philip was assassinated, Alexander, at just 20 years old, inherited the throne, an army, and a monumental task to fulfill his father's dream of crossing the Hellespont and invading the mighty Persian Empire. This was a David and Goliath scenario, a small Greek army against the overwhelming might and resources of the Persian king. Darius III. The world watched, expecting the young king to fail. But Alexander's military genius was immediately and shockingly apparent. His first major test came at the Granicus River, where he faced a Persian force determined to stop him at the water's edge. Against the advice of his seasoned generals, Alexander ordered a direct assault across the river. He personally led the charge, plunging into the fray with his elite companion cavalry. It was a reckless, audacious move that caught the Persians completely off guard. They broke and fled, giving Alexander a stunning victory and control over all of Asia Minor. But this was just the beginning. In 333 BC, he faced Darius himself at the Battle of Issus. The Persian army was enormous, vastly outnumbering the Macedonians. They were so confident that Darius brought his mother, wife, and children to watch his triumph. But Alexander didn't play by conventional rules. Instead of playing defense, he identified a weakness. He led his companion cavalry in a thunderous, decisive charge directly at the center of the Persian line, aiming straight for Darius himself. The tactic was a masterstroke of psychological warfare. Faced with the terrifying ferocity of the Macedonian charge, Darius panicked and fled, abandoning his family and his army. Seeing their king escape, the entire Persian force dissolved into chaos. This wasn't just a victory, it was a profound humiliation for the Persian Empire. After securing the Mediterranean coast, including the legendary 7-month siege of Tyre, Alexander marched into Egypt, where he was welcomed not as a conqueror, but as a liberator. They crowned him pharaoh and declared him a son of the god Zeus, a title that would fuel his already immense ambition. The final, defining showdown came in 331 BC on the plains of Gaugamela. This was Darius's last stand. He gathered the full might of his empire's immense army, rumored to be over 250,000 strong. Complete with scythed chariots designed to tear the Macedonian phalanx apart, and even war elephants. It was a force designed to crush Alexander once and for all. Alexander, with fewer than 50,000 men, faced annihilation. On the eve of battle, his general Parmenion suggested a night attack to even the odds. Alexander famously refused, stating, "I will not steal my victory." He used a brilliant and risky maneuver. He advanced with his right flank angled forward, baiting the Persians to overextend their lines to try and envelop him. As the Persian cavalry stretched their formation, a gap opened near the center. That was the moment Alexander was waiting for. He plunged his companion cavalry into that gap like a spear, once again making a beeline for Darius. And once again, for the second time, Darius fled for his life. The victory at Gaugamela was absolute. The Achaemenid Empire, which had ruled for over 2 centuries, was finished. Alexander was now the undisputed king of Asia. But for Alexander, conquering Persia wasn't enough. He was driven by an insatiable desire, a pathos, to reach the very ends of the earth. He marched his army further and further east, into the unknown territories of modern-day Afghanistan and Pakistan, facing brutal guerrilla warfare in the harsh mountainous terrain. He pushed onward, crossing the Indus River and venturing into India. There, he faced his most challenging opponent yet. King Porus and his famous war elephants at the Battle of the Hydaspes, in a tactical masterpiece fought during a monsoon storm. Alexander's forces managed to outmaneuver and defeat the terrifying elephant corps. It was a brutal, costly victory, but this was the breaking point. His army, exhausted from years of ceaseless campaigning, homesick and weary of their king's endless ambition, finally mutinied on the banks of the Beas River. They refused to go any further east. A heartbroken Alexander was finally forced to turn back. His final years were spent attempting to consolidate his vast, multicultural empire. But the immense physical and mental strain had taken its toll. In 323 BC, in the city of Babylon, Alexander the Great died suddenly at the age of just 32. The cause remains a mystery. Was it a fever, poison, or simply the exhaustion of a life lived at impossible speed? His vast empire, held together by his force of will alone, immediately fractured as his generals fought over the spoils. Yet his legacy was permanent. Alexander wasn't just a conqueror. He was a cultural architect. He intentionally blended cultures, founding over 20 cities named Alexandria and spreading Greek language, art, and philosophy and era we now call Hellenism across the entire known world. He laid the cultural groundwork for the great empires that would follow, including the Roman Empire. He achieved the eternal fame he craved, but in the end lost his life and his dream of a unified world. So, what do you think? Was Alexander's monumental ambition a gift that reshaped the world for the better, or was it a tragic flaw that ultimately consumed him? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this journey into the past, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more tales of legendary kings and conquerors. Thanks for watching.